You're in the right place at the right time. Listen, guys, today we are here with the very esteemed counselor, Katie, and is it Rössler?
Rössler, yep.
I got it right. Huh? Katie Rössler, licensed professional counselor. Katie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you? I'm talking to you from the future. I'm 6 hours ahead of you. So it's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a great day. What's the lottery number? Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, don't tell me. But we've got Katie Rössler. She's a native of the United States, and she's in Munich, Germany. Munich,
yes.
Germany. And she went to Mississippi State, where Dakota Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys went. That's right. That's right. We are so pleased to have you on the show today, Miss Katie. How are you doing today?
I'm so well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to be in Germany, but be able to be on your show in the United States.
Listen,
I think that's awesome.
Listen, I'm just as excited. Let me tell you, I'm just as excited. We're going to go ahead and we're going to play the promo. And after we play the promo, we're going to come back with the very illustrious Katie Rössler, counselor Katie Rössler. My grandma would say, put a title on that lady's name. That's right. That's right. I'm put a title on your name, counselor Katie Rössler. So here we go, guys. That's right.
Oh
Live
my
from Munich,
goodness.
Germany. You like the video?
I feel like I'm in a James Bond film about grief. Like, I'm gonna say I'm the good guy, the good woman,
You
the good
are the
woman.
good woman. I was trying to find, the right kind of music to match it. And the other song stopped early. And so then we have a video with no song, no sound. And so I was like, well, I have to change the sound. So, and so I went ahead and I found another sound.
Got a good one.
So I had to go with that. Yeah. I didn't want to have, Run DMC or anybody like that, James Brown. We're talking about grief. That'd
Right.
probably be pretty bad. Yeah, I didn't want to do that today. So,
A different type of grief.
well, let me give a little background for people that are tuning in. We have counselor Katie Rössler. She's a licensed professional counselor, a writer, and a healer. And she has a new transformative grief guide. She's a speaker from USA. She lives in Munich, Germany. Her career has taken her on a journey of working in private practice in 2 countries, residential facilities, homes, and schools, as well as speaking to a variety of corporate and nonprofit groups. Her new book that I'm excited about, I can't wait to get it. It's called The New Face of Grief, How to Transform Pain into Empowerment. You can get it on Amazon. It's only $7.99. You can go ahead and pre-order it, and it'll be ready, if I'm not mistaken, October the 5th, 2021. That's when it's going to be released.
Yeah, October the 5th is the 3rd anniversary of my mom's death. And I said, this has to be released on her death date because it's a testament to the legacy she's leaving. So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. And I do have a question about that. We're going to get to that in a second, though, because it's powerful. That's powerful, that you release it on that day. And I told you I'm going to share the day too. So I'm not going to leave you out there on a limb. Yeah, I'm going to share the day too. And, hopefully, yeah, definitely. I'm just glad to have you on the show. Counselor, let me ask you,
Yeah.
what got you interested into going into counseling?
Well, as many counselors, we had some type of childhood things that made us go, I want to go and help save the world. And ultimately, I decided to become a marriage and family therapist because my parents divorced when I was a teenager. And as a teenager, you're very aware of what's being said, what's being done. And so for me, it was I want to give couples better tools for communication, for relating, whether they stay together or not. Because, I don't believe that every marriage is meant to stay together. I believe they're there for us to learn. And when they don't work out, they don't have to end in such negativity and despair if you have the right tools and if you are making decisions from a place of your heart and not other places. So for me, it was really wanting to give other couples a chance at learning healthier tools. So then they could pass that on to their kids and that generational flow keeps going. And so,
Awesome.
yeah, I decided to become a counselor and I've loved it ever since. But, my mom, I originally went to college to be a doctor. And when that phone call was fun. Hey, mom, I'm not going to listen to people tell me about their problems. Little bit different. She still was proud, but, there was probably some grief in that as well.
Yeah, but that's okay. But you're doing what you were sent to do. That you found your niche, and that's the most important thing. Let me ask you a question. Did you show flashes of greatness as a child? Were you like Lucy, and did you have the little psychiatry stand up with the I think what was it, 25 cents?
Right, 25 cents.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up in a military family, so I moved every 2 to 3 years. So I got really good at adapting to people. In fact, you probably can't hear it, but so I grew up with a family from the South, like deep South, Biloxi, Mississippi. And I learned after moving to Washington, D.C., how to hide the y'all and the twang that comes
Right.
because of getting made fun of. And so I think as a counselor, we're really good at sitting with people where they are and adapting to what they need. So I learned that early on. I wouldn't say I was the best at giving advice because I was just trying to make it as the new kid constantly.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Um, your book, The New Face of Grief, it was born out of your pain. How liberating is it for you to bring a work like this forth out of the dark period of your life?
That's a beautiful question. Um, it's extremely liberating. It's also scary. You're in a book. If you choose to really share the honest stories and the honest feelings and really paint the picture of what it's like, then it's scary. And but I think there's a piece of it where you get to find meaning in all that pain you went through by going, okay, these stories, and I also gather stories from women all around the world, Brazil, Japan, Germany, the USA, and we all share what pain we've gone through and how we've transformed it into empowerment or a deeper meaning. So it's exciting. It's exciting. It's scary. It's all the butterfly feelings. But the reason the lotus is on the cover is exactly that. A lotus has to grow in mud and murky water. That's its environment. And as it pushes through the water, that mud never touches the inside petals, and you get to see this beautiful flower. And so that image on the cover had to be there because that's truly what, when you use grief as a tool of helping others and really use it to be able to heal past wounds, you get to be that lotus. So yeah.
Awesome. I put the book back up. I took it down and put your picture up. But yeah, you see the lotus
Yeah.
that the therapist is talking about right there on the picture. And that's a beautiful story about the lotus. Awesome story. It's beautiful. Um, one of the things that oh, here I skipped this question. You're an American counselor practicing in Germany. Was
Mhm.
language or culture a barrier in connecting with your clients, or is grief the same wherever you go?
So when I started working here, I worked with expats. And so those are people who are from the UK, Australia, India, the USA, and English is the language they use to get around here until they learn German. I also call it the romantic language. Typically, in a relationship, that's how they met, and so that's how that's how they argue. That's how they get along. And so I see couples in English. It actually helps that I am learning the language as well. My husband is German, so three
Okay,
bilingual
cool.
kids. It's through osmosis. It'll come. But I am able to help them when there's times where they're like, oh, I can't think of the word. And if they're a German native, that I can go, oh, that's this. But grief, oh my goodness, it doesn't matter where you're from. Grief is real. And the book is so much about we put grief and death in the same box, and we leave out all the other things: broken relationships, dreams that are never met, things even for our childhood that we went through, traumas. We don't see that always as grief. We see that as suck it up and move on. You just had a tough time and get over it. And that is universal. This suck it up and move on. Like, are you done grieving yet? It's time. Like, you should get over it. And nobody teaches us how to heal in those. We know that with a death, time heals it, and doing there's some things that we can do to help us through it. But it's all the rest. It's that hidden grief that, sadly, and it's a lot of what we're going to talk about with our stories, people didn't really teach us how to do it until we started to say, wait, hold on, there's like a deeper meaning in why this is happening. It's helping me grow. It's helping me be a better person. It's helping me help others.
And I just listening to what you said, it made me think of something else. And I've never liked when people go to others, and they have an expectation of what the shelf life on your grief is, or
Yeah.
what the shelf life on another person's grief should be. What would you say to someone that that's going through something like that, and they're being like, they're treating them like Hester Prynne. They're wearing the scarlet letter because they're still grieving.
Yeah, I call it grief shaming. It's you get to be made to feel guilty or shameful for however long. I mean, this happens with pet grief too. When you lose a pet, people are like made fun of for it. Like it's not like it was a real child, and it's like, well, it felt like my child, and so they get shamed, and so then they hold it in and they don't share it, and then they just feel awful and they're struggling and suffering. Um, if you find yourself in this situation, there's no reason not to say you don't have a right to grief shame me. This is my timeline and my work I need to do. One of the chapters in the book says we've got to get rid of the rules of grief, these societal placed rules of it's this timeline, but they're all hypocritical. It's like, you should be over it by now. I don't think you grieved long enough. You're not crying, you cry too much. It's like, oh my, can I do it right? Is there a right with this? And so I say it's time for us to really let those go and define for us what is healthy, what is right, with these rules. So it's sad to me that, and I think this is generationally something that hopefully will start to shift, is that we can't put a timeline to it, and we can't put this is what it looks like. We hear about the phases of grief and bargaining and anger and depression. It's great that there are these phases that give us idea, but they're not even the structure or the rules of how it goes. They're just to give you an idea. And so often most of the time I find when people make comments, it's because they're uncomfortable with their own grief. And so they kind of like, I don't want to sit with yours. I need you to cover that up because it makes me feel mine. So, are you done? Because I don't want to feel it. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And talking about the rules of grief, one qualm I've always had was I've always felt like, and from the background I came from, I've always felt like funerals were way too sad. You know,
Mm,
it's like
mm,
you've got this one person there, they're gonna sing this sad, sad song, in some cases you've got the preachers, and they're gonna, be telling everybody that's there that day they're going to hell because because
right.
that's the chance they get every day. Yeah, nobody else is, so I'm
Always.
like, and I've been in ministry for like I think 26 years this year, and I'm like, so where's the comfort coming for the family? Where's the
Yeah.
love at? And I'm like, where is the take you away from this horrible situation that you're
Yeah.
going through? Because this is a very traumatic situation that you're
Yeah.
getting ready to go through, and for me, it's like, yeah, because it's like you sit there and you're like, wow, I didn't feel as bad as I do now, but boy, do I really feel bad. Yeah, I really feel horrible now.
Yeah.
I really got some trauma now. How you feel about that?
That frustrates me as well. I think there are a lot of people in the church who, like you said, they take the opportunity. Well, all these people are here, so let me preach that word to them instead of what truly is the word is like love and support, and you're not alone. Which in grief we feel often alone. So that's the time you bring people in with that instead of the you're going to hell because of look what you're doing, and like let's look at this person who's dead's life. I always hate when they
Right.
do that. Look at this, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
if you do them well, then you might be like, well, maybe that's not the best example that you want to use to look at their life. But at the end of the day, grief is just about knowing you're not alone and knowing what you're going through is normal. Whatever you feel, whatever you think, the anger, the frustration, the hurt, the fear, because honestly when it comes to death and grief we face our own morality, right? So when I lost my mom, my older two were 4 and 2. I didn't have my third yet, and she was 57, and I was like, what if I die early? Like, what if I die early now? What if I, like, it creates a panic. And it took me a lot of time to kind of go, my time will come. All of our time will come. Death is one of the change and death are the two constants, I feel like. Change and death. So I needed to get much more comfortable with that. And that was me needing to do my grief healing process through that is where I started to see, wow, I've had grief throughout my life. This is normal. And I thought about my clients and I said, it's normal for them too to have grief. We're just not being told this is normal. We're being told it's only with death and it's horrible and it hurts and it's, stay away from it, escape it, run away. And that's where I was like, we got to transform this. This is really, it's hurting people just like it's hurting people in the church to be told you're all going to hell on the day of a funeral.
Right. Yeah. That's it's and I've witnessed that several times. I've witnessed people that have just said, I'm never going back there again.
Yeah.
And they haven't come back again, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a time when they're really, really at a very vulnerable point. And
Yeah.
you know, according to the method that you use, according to what you bait your hook with, you really could catch some fish,
Right.
but you're not going to catch any fish like that, using
Yeah.
dynamite trying to blow them out of the water.
Right. You would think that like the Sermon on the Mount and some other like, hey, there's some great examples in the Bible. Why don't we just go with that? Don't try this other stuff. But yeah.
And you were mentioning about your mom, and
Mhm.
my grandparents raised me, and I remember when my grandmother passed away, it was extremely hard. I went into a extremely dark place. My grandfather passed before her, but what kept me adrift was the fact that mother was still living, and I went into the extremely dark place. I had to go out to the graveyard just about every day, you
Mhm.
know, until something until finally something communicated with me and told me, you don't need to keep coming out here. I just and I didn't have anything to do with myself,
Yeah.
because I was so used to a routine and she was in the routine, and I got angry. I
Yeah.
got mad. I didn't want to preach anymore. I
Yeah.
was really mad with that. Then that wasn't long lived. That was short lived rather. But I went through some stuff, but I didn't understand grief until I went through that. I sat on that front seat in the church, and I went into the funeral home and saw my grandmother's name up on the board where, the names are usually there for the people that are having funerals that week. Picked out caskets. Oh God. That was 0 hour for me. To me, that was like nothing can be worse than that for me.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
like the worst time for me. And
Yep.
the funeral director was our cousin. We were related to me. He's gone on now, but I'll never forget that I went into the funeral home, and I'm a big guy, and we were all sitting down, and I'm just crying. I got my tissue and I'm crying, my handkerchief, and I'm crying. And I was getting ready to sit in the chair, and this little fold up chair. And he said, "No, no, no, Varnish, you better not sit in that chair. You better sit in this one. I don't think that was going to hold you." And I didn't even want to laugh. I really did not want to laugh. But
I
I,
know. Yep.
it tickled me so much. Reverend Octave Gethers, God
Uh,
bless him. It made me laugh, and that really helped me. That helped me. That lifted a little bit of that
yep.
fog
Yep.
off of me what I was going through.
Yeah. I find humor when used appropriately, and sometimes it needs to be a little bit dark in those times.
Yeah.
It's like cold water to the soul because we need relief. It's not that we need to escape grief completely. It's we need those like moments of like and then go back down, where we can breathe. And I find being able to just laugh at there is humor around us in grief in a variety of ways. I mean, I think that's something that you can't go through darkness without having those giggle moments where you're like, don't, oh, okay. And then you just, I was on a podcast last week about cancer, and we laughed half of it. And that's awful. It sounds awful, but
Right.
what was humorous was how people respond to you. How, like all these different things that you have to laugh. You can cry too, and you can laugh because some of it does have on the outside a lot of humor to it. Yeah.
It does. I have I have a story. I'm going to tell you this. You're going to always remember this. This is going to always make you laugh. I have my friends are really just they're crazy. We laugh all the time. And so if something happens to somebody, we'll come by, we'll be concerned. But before the night is over, we're gonna be in a corner somewhere and we're gonna be laughing. And no matter what it is, and that's kind of how we have dealt with tragedy. And so for some reason, they always pick us to be pallbearers. I don't know why they always get this same group of people to be pallbearers. It seemed like we would have like at least two people that are responsible to be. Well, we have one that doesn't laugh. He's just got dry humor, and that makes it worse. But we were carrying a casket to the graveyard, and we had to go across the churchyard, and all these cars were like close together. Now everybody's skinny. I'm the only one that's fat. And so we've got to navigate through these cars to, get to the graveyard. Well, everybody looks like Ken, but I don't look like Ken, Yeah. So we lifted the casket up, and as we were going, everybody had to squeeze through these cars to get to the grave, and we were ahead of everybody. We were in the front. We were in the leading procession. And when we got to the front, when we got to the car, everybody would say, "Oh, I made it. I got by. I made it." But when I got over there, a Toyota's mirror got stuck right in my butt, and I couldn't move. And I was holding it, and I said, "I'm not gonna make it." So my friend, who's a Marine, says, "I told you to stop eating all those potato chips. I told you to go on a diet. Now this lady can't get to her great reward." So I said, "Shut up and mind your business, and let's shift this thing and try to get over here." And so we're arguing. His brother, who's older than both of us, said, "Both of you shut up, because we got to get this casket over here." And I mean, I'm standing up there. My friend in front of me, he's laughing. He's already he can't. He's laughing. His legs getting weak. And finally, we moved it to where, how you push the mirror all the way out and it goes, ah! And so we got it over there. We put the casket down, and we were over there by the grave crying. Now, when people came, they thought we were overcome with grief. We were laughing. We couldn't stop laughing. We laughed. My nose was running. Listen, I was laughing so much. And you laugh so much that you're holding it in, but you just want to laugh really loud, but you can't do it. And right. I mean, oh God, that's my casket story.
I love it. You got to get to the great reward.
You can't get to a great reward. I told you to stop eating those potato chips. Yeah, he's stupid. He needs to be a comedian. Yeah, when he sees this show, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about. He'll know I'm talking about him. Yeah, he's just a comedian. He's pretty always jogging, everything like that. But
I
helped
think
us make it through.
Needed. Yes, I think I grew up in a family that was like that too. We laugh at everything because it is so good for the soul, and it doesn't mean that we're not aware of how dark and deep and hurtful things are. And for some, humor at certain times doesn't work. I get it, but there's something about being able to just laugh at the ridiculousness of something in that moment. There were times. So we had a funeral for my mom where she lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and then we had one where she grew up in Biloxi, Mississippi. And we laughed not throughout both, but at different times in both because of the humor of just maybe certain people who showed up or, right. What was said. And you're like, really? Like, now's the time you say something like that or whatever it might be. Because it's like a soda bottle. You're shaking and shaking, shaking. You got to release it a little bit before it just explodes everywhere. And it's negative. You need to okay, I can let some of this grief out in the form of humor and the form of laughter. Yeah. I think that's so important.
Awesome. So I'm glad you let me know I'm normal by
You're
laughing. Listen, I'm laughing. I'm laughing just thinking about it. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. I mean, you couldn't script it. You couldn't write that. Saturday Night Live couldn't write that. No. It was hilarious. She was
looking down going like, of course, that's who they got to walk me.
So counselor, what are, without letting the cat out of the bag completely, what are some of the new rules we need to focus on maybe making when it comes to grief?
So the rules that I think are important that we have, all of us, and then the rest of us, we just get to do our own individual things, is it's important we don't harm ourselves permanently or others in our grief. I think it's also important that we don't run away from the life that we have. We may take a pause, we may step away for a period of time, but often you see people in grief completely deciding to like uproot and leave, and start a new life thinking that they're running away from the grief. And that's not true. So for me, those are the two big ones, is that we really are mindful to not hurt ourselves, are mindful not hurt our others. We're going to be reactive. We're going to say things, but I'm talking about the pain that like you can't rebuild that relationship, or you can't get that part of you back. And those are the most important to me. When it comes to us creating our own rules, you decide how much you cry, and you decide how much you don't, and you decide how long this needs to take, and you decide what type of help you need and what that looks like. Of course, as a counselor and a healer, I'm going to say like, hey, there are particular times where it's probably better to seek someone out, but you have to be ready for that. When I used to work in a residential facility, it was with teens. They didn't want to be there. And so they're coming and they're sitting with me, and here I am, this like white counselor, and they're looking at me like, who do you think you are? I've done this on the streets. And I'm like, okay, I still will sit with you and listen to your story. I'm not going anywhere. And I had to teach them, like, you can decide if you want to talk to me or not. That's okay. You decide how much you share or not. You decide if you cry in the session or not. I'm not going to go tell everybody in the unit that you did. It was important that they felt heard and safe and seen, because when they went back with the other kids like them, that's back in the rules of we don't show this, we're too tough, we don't need this kind of thing. So our rules are based off of what we want, what we need. And really, I always go back to like, what's healthy? We don't always like to eat salad every day or have that particular drink or take that vitamin, but we know, we hear it, we hear the voice like, this is good for us. And when you feel that in your grief, it's time to talk to someone. It's time to read a book about it, time to watch something. You listen to it. You learn to listen to that more than the no, I don't want to feel this. It's dark. You said it. It's dark. It gets dark. It's heart racing. There's just a hole you feel like you fall into. It's the I don't want to get out of bed. It's the what's the point? Why? Why would you do this? It's getting angry at God. It's getting angry at everyone around you. You have to go through that. You have to feel that pain. And the more we try to escape it, the more it becomes like the monster under the bed that I always say is like usually just a teddy bear. But we're so scared of it. And I don't want to feel it. I don't want to experience it. You have to, though. I look back at my life and I look back at all the things that have happened and traumas I've been through and changes and moves and all these things. And I think, oh, I am who I am today because of all those things. So anything else that comes is going to continue to keep that ball moving forward unless I get in the way of it, unless I stop it from happening. I don't think, we always talk about like, I want to live life to the fullest. Like, I really want to just be present and enjoy life. That means all of it. That means all of it. And that means good, bad. I don't like really those terms, positive, negative, things that add to our life, things that take away from our life. It is that way. That is life. And there's no good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. No, it's convoluted. It's a mixture. And so when you go about life going, all of it will happen to me, and I am capable to handle all of it, then you look at life much different than, no, why is this happening to me? And, this person died and now I can't go on. You will feel like you can't go on. Believe me. So my mom died. 9 months later, we had 2 girls, but I had my first miscarriage. Then 6 months later, I had my second on Christmas Eve. And it was just like, come on, like, really? I'm standing up and then you knock me over again. And no, and I'm going to stand up again and then you knock me over again. And it just was this despair that I just didn't understand because I had that mentality of why is this happening to
Me.
me? Instead of, oh, this happens. This is life. This is all of life. And I can either keep getting knocked down or I can learn that part of the process is going with the flow. And once I stopped fighting it, and once I stopped thinking that there was something wrong, what have I done? Like, oh, you do the whole life assessment. What have I done to earn this? And you stop making it about punishment and you just make it about normal life. Then it's like, okay, so how do I grow? Where do I find meaning? How do I help others? Where do I shift this? Because I don't want my story to be these bad things happen to me and then these losses happen to me and then this pain and this happened to me when I was a kid and this happened to me as a teenager. I want it to be these things happen because finish the movie this. I needed to be able to do this. I needed to write a book. I needed to help someone. I needed to help my community. I needed to go and volunteer with teenagers. I need whatever. I needed to do that. But I had to walk this path first. We can watch a movie very easily at a movie theater or on our screens at home and go, oh, I can see why all that needed to happen. Because at the end, here's the resolution. But we forget our life is like its own movie. And we just don't know what's going to be next. So we just assume either, oh, it's just going to all be bad or all going to be good or what. It's just going to be life. It's just going to be life. And you decide where you're going to find that meaning and what you're going to do with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, counselor. I'm getting ready to call you doctor.
Oh,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Yeah, you're a doctor here today. I'm sorry. That's right. That's right.
Like
You're
a
a doctor here.
spiritual doctor, like,
That's it. That's right. You're the spiritual doctor. Absolutely.
oh,
Absolutely. Um, counselor, let me ask you. I used to be about the school of thought because everything comes from learned behaviors.
yeah,
We do what we learn from our backgrounds, from our cultures. And one time the thing was someone dies, you go to people, you say, hey, they're in a better place. Then you yeah, then you say something stupid. I understand what you're going through. I don't understand why, but let me tell you, after I was on that front seat of that church and rode in that family car, I would
yep.
never say nothing stupid like that anymore. What would you say? What do you say to people that that do these kind of things? Um,
We just don't know better till we know. And then sometimes when we know, we sometimes let it slip. Yeah, you're like intuitively. There's a chapter of the book on this exactly. We think we're doing them a service. We think we're giving them that. Here's an analogy I use in the book. It's like somebody's at the cliff. They're just standing at the cliff looking down, and we're like, look, a beautiful sunrise. Look at the sunrise. Don't look at the cliff. Look at the sunrise. And they're like, there's a cliff. I can't see the sunrise. Okay, I'm looking at the cliff. And it's our job as supporters to build a bridge. Oh my God, this is so devastating and so hard. I'm here, whatever you need. I want you to know that I can see that sunrise for you. But until you can, I'm right here with you. And I'm going to build this bridge and you're going to be able to walk on it so you can see the cliff and you can see that there's that sunrise too happening and that sun's coming up again. And so we do that by saying things like, whatever you're feeling right now is normal. I don't want anyone to tell you that you're wrong. How can I support you right now? I'm bringing dinner over tomorrow. What time's best? Not what do you like to eat? And when do you want it? Because then you make it about them having to
make
create a
decisions.
schedule.
Right.
I'm going to bring over your favorite, drink or food, and I'm going to sit with you on the porch. Do you need me to watch your kids? You know what? Just go for a walk. Whatever you need to do. Go sleep. Take a nap. Good Lord, in grief, we sleep so much. We need it. We're exhausted. Our brains, our memories are gone. Like we need somebody who goes, I'm going to do a grocery run. I'm buying you groceries. You may not eat it all. That's fine. I'm going to buy you stuff. And just support us in that way. That's how we show support. That's how we don't talk about, well, so and so's aunt died and this person died, or let me tell you about all my grief stories. When I had my miscarriages, I had women I'd known for years. I never knew they had a miscarriage because we don't talk about it. We don't normalize that it's 1 in 4 pregnancies, not women, pregnancies. So if you're
Wow.
getting pregnant often, you're going to like it's happening because it's normal. It is Mother Nature normal, but we think it's wrong. We think it's bad. There's something wrong with you. Your body. What did you do? I had people ask me if I ran too much, and that's why. And it was like,
Wow.
what? Yeah, all sorts of things. People come up with all sorts of, they want to solve it for you, right? They want to solve it for you. This must be a curse on you. Like, what? Like,
First,
great, like people, again, they want to solve it. They want, like, well, we'll pray over you. We'll pray for you. This is what will, not to say that that doesn't help, because as a healer, I see it. But when you tell someone that, it's that grief shaming again. You're putting
right.
them, putting down, putting down, putting down. So we have to be careful. We have to be mindful of what we're saying to people to try to tell them. But those women who came out of the woodwork were like, you're going to have to go through the fire, but we're here. Yep, that's normal. I felt that too. That next pregnancy, I was scared out of my mind until the baby came out. Like they normalized it for me. They didn't tell me let me tell you my deep dark story and how this happened to me, and and let me inspire you with my story. It was normalize, validate. You've got this. I'm here. What do you need? That was the support and I think many people in grief need that. Some of us love to get those people like to send these memes or these quotes of like, or, heaven has another angel, and it's beautiful. But man, when you've lost that angel, you don't want to hear that, heaven has another angel. You just want to feel it. And I can be grateful I have 2 kids and grieve that I lost these 2. And we were blessed with a rainbow baby. We have a third now. But I still grieve the other 2. I see a dragonfly and it makes me think of our first one that we lost. So I can be grateful and grieve. They are not, there's a rule. There we go. You can be grateful and grieve.
I like that. I
That's a
like
rule.
that.
Grateful and grief. Take it both. You don't have to be one or the other. You don't have to be one or the other. So that's a big thing is we got to let go of these beliefs that we have to say the right thing in grief. Sometimes it's just beautiful to have somebody sit with you and say, I'm here. You don't have to talk, but I'm here. That's powerful to me.
And admit that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah. We don't have to. We don't like not having answers nowadays, don't we?
Absolutely.
Google has the answer to everything. Like, we don't like it. And there's something I'm, maybe men are like this too. My husband's this way. Saying I don't know is like the worst thing you could say. Like,
Absolutely.
if he has to say I don't know, it's like he's like, and I'm like, it's okay not to know. It's okay not to know what to say. Because sometimes grief doesn't have words with it. Before we have words, we color, we bang on things, we create, we destroy. This is like, baby toddler years. So sometimes we got to go back there and just feel it in our bones and our soul. And then the words come later. So when you try to talk someone to death about it and they're like, because they're not there yet. They're not ready to talk. So just sit with them.
Absolutely. I remember sitting down. We were having a Bible study one night. And one of my friends, Miss Monica, I think she lost her daughter, and she said someone was telling her something similar to that. And she was letting them know, she said, I know the word of God. I study it. She said, I'm grieving, you know.
Yeah.
She said,
Yeah.
I'm grieving now. And so when she said that, you know, it really enlightened me, and I think that understanding, being able to understand somebody else's pain, feel their pain. And I never could feel that pain until I felt that pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. I mean, there's sympathy and there's empathy. Sympathy is, I'm sorry. Empathy is, been there. I feel you.
Yeah,
And it's
empathy won't let you say I'm sorry.
right. Empathy
You
is
know,
just like,
yeah, empathy won't let you say, because you say, I can't put a sorry on that, because that's not just something that sorry's gonna wash away. You know,
Right.
you want to
Right.
just let them know, hey, I'm gonna be there for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
just like you said, I'm gonna be there for you. You know, but I'm sorry. You know, I mean, that's like if I drop my ice cream cone on the ground.
Right. Like, oh, I'm sorry. And we often, originally apologies were because we did something that we need to take ownership of. So when we just
Right.
say I'm sorry, it's out of habit. We're not quite sure what to say. So yeah.
A counselor, I noticed that in your writing, you said that mental health issues are on the rise worldwide. Have you seen a peak in cases of grief since the inception of COVID-19?
Oh, 100%. It's layers. Okay, so obviously the first layer is real deaths happening, real people sick, babies, children, adults, parents, old people, like the whole range. Then we have the layer of, and I know in America it's been different than here in Europe. So in Germany, we were like full lockdown, can't leave the house. So we have that. We have the, I can't go and do the things I can't even just go to the grocery store easily. I can't go to my work easily. My kids can't go to school easily. There's that grief. Like my life is changing. I don't want my life to change. That's not, I'm not in control of this. And we've got that grief. And then we have, which is, I believe, what led to a lot of addictions starting to increase more. And we're seeing suicide rates increase. And the increase of mental health is I have old grief that comes up when I sit for too long and I get quiet and I start to feel it and I don't want to feel it. And I don't want to think about it. And I don't want to experience that trauma again. And our busy lives keep us from having to feel those things. But when we're back in that space of, I have nothing to do, you start to feel it. And that grief is really largely what the book's about, is that grief that all of a sudden shows up and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize that was still there because we stay so busy. So that is why, for me, we're seeing it's the statistics and over the next, I think honestly, the next 3 to 5 years are going to be quite sad. But the hope is that there's many of us coming out and going, okay, let's start teaching the tools, whether you're stuck at home, whether you're back in your normal life, it's time to work on these things. It's time to learn what support is. It's time to say it's okay to ask for help and that there's a variety of different help out there. I think there's something, I haven't figured out how we got into this mentality where it's like you go to a doctor and that's even if you don't like that doctor, that's the doctor you're stuck with. And maybe a long time ago that would have been how it is, but nowadays there's, well, why not go to the doctor? It might be a little bit more of a drive, a bus ride, or for us S-Bahn ride to a certain place. Why not go try another doctor? It's the same with the counselor. Not every counselor, not every coach, not every pastor is yours, not the right person for you. So when you go to one and they're not the right fit, that doesn't mean they're all not the right fit. It's kind of like shopping around, like dating, like, are you? No. Are you? No. And you have to, the problem is you have to share a little bit of your story each time. And that is tough for people. I don't want to have to keep talking about it. I don't want to have to keep talking about it. It's just frustrating. I feel like I'm turning in circles. But the more you talk about it, the less your body responds with the trauma, the less the shock, the less the, because it's like reading a book. You just keep narrating the story and narrating the story, and then you start to hear different parts of it. And then when you find that right counselor or coach or pastor, or whoever you want to talk to, that right friend, that safe friend, then you're in a place of like, oh, okay, I'm ready to work on this. So it's important that as we start to see mental health issues increase, that we start to know what types of help are out there, what is the good help, what's the safe help. We all have that inside of us of this is right, this is wrong, and being able to start listening to that voice. I think that's really important. And now so many of us are online. We have to be online, right? Like all of my couples I was seeing last year, we were all online. Like I was doing late night sessions. Everybody's kids are in bed and I'm like pregnant and going, okay, let's talk about your communication dynamics. So there's the ability to find people like this. There's ability to find support groups online, more than there ever was. I think that's one beautiful thing. There's that lotus that's coming out of this mud, is that support services are more accessible. It's about, are we ready to access them? And that's hard.
Thank you, counselor. Thank you. Counselor, looking through the lens of loss, turning grief into empowerment is almost the equivalent of Rumpelstiltskin spinning thread into gold for those in the early stages of grief. This formula you have, what is the starting point for someone in abject grief?
When you are in the throes of it, when you are deep in the fire, this isn't the time for you to, like, again, no sunrise. Not asking you to have a sunrise. It's don't run from it. It's feel it. The addiction to escaping our feelings is real. We get on our phones. Social media is great at numbing us out. We, whatever it might be, we go to these different things so that we don't have to feel it. So if you are in the throes of it, allow yourself to feel it. Give yourself that cool water, that drink of cool water for your soul, whether it be through a funny video or talking to a friend that just, we have that friend that just makes us, you feel it, like your tension just releases. Find those little, it's small. They're not going to be big, overwhelmed, like, now I'm healed and it's all gone. It's going to be small things when you're in the heat of it. Small little things that bring that peace. For me, walking in nature, hearing the sound of birds, because my mom loved birds. I would cry so much, but it was like, it's like she's here. You have to find those little puzzle pieces that life gives you. They're there, but you have to be open to experiencing and feeling them. And we've all gone through smaller amounts of pain and grief. So we know what helped us in those moments. So sometimes you use those and bring them over and you use them in a different way to help. So like my book, I love my book, but if you're in the heat and throes of it, probably not the best book, because it's not about, hey, how to help you in crisis. It's about, you've sat with this and it's still there because you have not really healed it. So let's work on it now. Let's, start to soothe that pain. Let's turn it into that empowerment. You and I both know that we didn't go into the, like, here's my greater meaning right after this bad situation happened, right after the death, right after the loss, right after the major change. That didn't happen. No. It took time because we had to keep going to the gravesite and keep going to the gravesite. And then all of a sudden, this little voice, which I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't her voice, saying, why are you still going here? Don't you have something better to do? Like, I love you, come visit me, but come on. There's just something that clicks. And then the healing starts. But so many people, because we don't like to feel it, we want to feel it, the healing, and I want to get this out, and I want to grieve it, I want to be done. I was one of those after my mom died. Oh man, I didn't know I was gonna write a book, but like, I'm gonna go and do this, and I'm gonna help people in this way, and I'm gonna keep being a counselor, and I found this meaning. That didn't mean I didn't go through the rest. And when those drops hit, they hit hard because I thought I skipped it. I figured it out. You just find your meaning and you move on. No. You have to. I call it the cocoon of grief. I don't know if you've read that thing on my website. The cocoon of grief. A caterpillar cocoons itself up, right? It wraps up. People don't realize what happens to the caterpillar inside the cocoon. We know that it comes out a beautiful butterfly. Like, it must just transform and the metamorphosis process. Well, the metamorphosis process is an enzyme is released that digests itself. It becomes mush in this cocoon. So if there's a certain point where you cut it out, mush just comes out. There's nothing. And then once it's all mush, the cells, like, there's this activation and they slowly start to turn into the butterfly. There's the wing. There's the leg. It's an amazing, gorgeous process, but you have to become mush. And you can't jump out of it fast or you only have one wing and one leg. You're not a butterfly. So you have to be in the mud to have the lotus. You have to go in the cocoon and you have to turn to mush to be able to be that butterfly. We want the end. We want it like, I want to fly high and be good and everything's great. That's not how it works. And the more we get comfortable with the uncomfortable, the more we're able to sit with it with less suffering. I can't emphasize that enough. The suffering we often feel is because we create it for ourselves. It hurts when they're gone, but how we handle how they're gone, how we think about it, how we feel it, how we, go about it, that's what causes the suffering. Often it's the stigma that others as well tell us. You've experienced this. Oh, that first year's the worst. I don't know. The second year sucked too. Like,
It did.
Honestly, every birthday and every anniversary hurts and it's awful. So it's not like there's these stigmas and these things, and I understand why they tell people that, because they want to give you hope. Get through the first year. I got through the first year, and then I was like, oh, okay, whew. And then the next, anniversary or Christmas came, and I was like, nope, this is still hard. Like, nobody told me, because there were these rules that weren't true. It was just to try to get you through it. Again, there's the sunrise, but there's also a cliff, and you need that bridge. You need that thing that says you can experience both.
Counselor, thank you so much for being on our show today. Counselor Katie Rössler, guys, a licensed professional counselor. She's here with us live from Munich, Germany, and get her book. I've got it up here. The book, you can go on Amazon and get the book. I've got the website, katierössler.com, www.katierössler.com, but you can go on Amazon, $7.99, guys. And listening to her on this show, this book is packed. We're gonna definitely have her back after I read the book. I'm absolutely gonna have you back after I read the book.
I love it. I love it.
Definitely gonna have you back. The book is The New Face of Grief. Transform pain into empowerment. And counselor, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, do I have I always have final thoughts. I think the final thought I want to leave you all is how capable you are. How capable. And I don't know who told you you weren't. I don't know who made you feel like you weren't, but you are. And that is something I had to relearn. In childhood, we think we're invincible. Like, oh, I can handle anything. And then something beats us down and holds us back. You were created because you are capable of handling whatever is in your movie, your life movie. So remember that. And anyone who makes you feel differently, anybody who grief shames you, call it out. Tell them they're not allowed to do that anymore. Counselor Katie says so. You can send them this video.
I will. Counselor Katie, you are the bomb.com. We're so glad to have you all day. Listen. Anytime you want to come back, you just let me know. But I'm serious. After I read your book, I'm going to be reaching back out to you because I'm going to want to get you back on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'd love it. I would love it. Yes.
Yeah, this has been so awesome. I've really enjoyed this this interview. I've laughed. I've been close to feeling like I want to cry, and I better not say that because my friends watching. It definitely be like, because the guys, they're like, you wanted to cry on TV.
Right, yeah.
But we thank you so much for coming today, and we thank everybody out there for tuning in. And I'm so glad, and I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you. I hope so. Yeah.
Well, once again, you've been on the Moral Compass. We've had the very astute counselor, Dr. Katie Rössler, the licensed professional counselor. And we're going to go ahead and leave you with that. And we'll see you guys next time.